gaming on this thing is a little weird. Because for games like Street Fighter 6, let's give it a second to load.
Street Fighter 6. Fighting round. One-on-one. Give you template. I'm trying to play the sidelines. Gotta make my own highlights. Alright, let's get it.
Gaming on the Nintendo Switch is kind of weird because for games like this, it looks pretty good with no real graphical problems, as you'll see in this match. Just have it on easy mode because I don't really feel like losing in a video. Also, it's NBC, so who cares? So you see the graphics are pretty good whilst I beat up Luke here. So, and in other games, like Warframe, just give it a second. I'm gonna load the game up here because I don't want to show off my profile. Just the game. Takes a while to load up Warframe on the Nintendo Switch.
You seek rewards, Hunter?
Okay. We got games that look. We get games like this where it looks really good, along with like Street Fighter. Graphics are about what you would expect for a modern console. But then you go over to games like this. Where it's already kind of choppy, and I just clicked on it. Now, of course, I do know the reason why it does this, which we'll get to here in a sec. Guess we'll also wait for this to load. Crash Bandicoot. Okay. Forgot I had boost mode. Okay, let's just replay the first level. I have not beaten this game, I'm probably not going to, but I'm just going to replay the same levels over and over again, because this game is hard. And also, I'm a coward, we don't care. Yeah, 30 FPS, even though this console can do a lot more. Now, of course, there is a reason for that. Switch is that this isn't a Switch 2 game, this is a Switch 1 game. So it's just gonna run that Switch 1 game just on the newer hardware, which obviously won't improve the graphics at all. But it's still, what was that for me being bad at the game? Huh. Weird. My mind is blank. Right. The Switch 2 is obviously just going to run the Switch 1 games exactly how they were made to. They're not going to run it. There's not going to run a game that's that's built around 30 FPS like this game. And run it at 60 FPS. Okay, well, technically this game is made for 60 on PS5 and stuff, but that's not what we're playing on. We're playing on the 30 FPS Switch version. Of course, it's not going to take a game that runs at 30 FPS on its native console and it's gonna run it at 60. That's not how that works. But that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is pointing out how gaming on this thing can be kind of weird if you don't have too many games that are made for the Switch. If this game doesn't look nearly as good as it on here as it does on other consoles, even though this thing would be able to handle this game at its full quality perfectly fine. Pretty sure, at least. And the fact that it doesn't just kind of makes the whole console feel a little odd. It's not to say that the console isn't good and play this on this thing every day. Hell, my favorite game doesn't run out the full capabilities of this console. Skylanders runs at 720p on this thing, when the actual bigger console versions run at 1080p, depending on what version you play on. Ignore my horrible crash gameplay. Dang it. You see why I haven't beaten this game yet? Me bad. Anyway, another crash. Even games like that don't look too bad on the console, looks passable. Then you get to this, and that's where the real fun begins. You can see my face. And my Skull Candy Crushers. Like, huge on my head. Whether or not this is just because they are huge, or... Okay, here we go. Local versus, because I'm not playing online. I don't like playing online, it's just not my thing. This game's gonna have to really turn up the brightness. There we go. Okay.
Scorpion.
But yeah, as you can clearly tell, that's the best looking game on the system.
Movado.
Again, very easy because I'm a coward. But yeah, a console that would be able to run this game perfectly fine, and it looks like this. Again, that's obvious because it's a Switch 1 game, so it's not, and you can't just, so unless without a proper patch, you're not going to be able to get better graphics on this just by putting it onto newer hardware. Because that ain't how games work. But it's just kind of funny to see a game that looks, is a system that running a game that looks at this good as like Street Fighter and Warframe, running games that look like that. And other games look like pretty good on the system, like like this, even on the console that this game was put on, the Switch 1, even on there it looks it looks fine. I think it's 1080p as well. But this game isn't nearly as graphically heavy as Crash 4. And also the Insane Trilogy runs at 30 FPS on every console, so it's not gonna be an issue for this version to have 30 FPS. It's just at a lower resolution. I feel like waiting for that to load just to play Crash. But games that were like made for the Switch 2 run, like made specifically for this system, not just games that were ported to it. The games like this run like Nintendo games. Yeah, I just run the basic Mario. Sue me. Anyway, the point is pointing out the fact that when playing the Switch 2, some games can look really good because of the Switch 2's power, but then also you can get games that look kind of like it's not really, like you're really getting a lot out of the Switch 2 because a lot of those games haven't gotten Switch 2 versions. And some games, I could see them getting Switch 2 editions like this. Probably not. This one, I can see it. This, we don't even know what the company's even doing at this point. I can see it, but probably not. This game, hell nah. This game is long since dead, despite being my favorite game. Nintendo's too lazy. Maybe if there's another DLC release. That game runs fine anyway. Again, that game runs fine. That game's dead. That is the Switch 2 edition. That game's dead. That game's dead. Playing it on the Switch 2 it makes it better anyway. That game wasn't... Nobody likes that one. That one is actually getting a Switch 2 edition. Already has one. I don't even think people know what that is. I don't see it. I just don't see this one getting a Switch 2 edition. That's a Switch 2 edition. This game is also a no, because nobody likes this one. That's not a game. I don't count those. I don't really count that as a Switch 2 edition. I mean, it's just kind of loads faster. This game, I can also see it getting a Switch 2 edition. That one also no. I don't see why you would need a Switch 2 edition of that. No. Switch Sports Resort, that's what that's for. No. Already has one. No. That's not mine. I don't see it. No. And no. So yeah, a lot of these games are definitely not getting one. But yeah. Even though there are some games that I wish we get a Switch 2 edition just because, partially because I wanted the touchscreen functionality back, because I like playing it at a higher quality than 1440p, I think. I'd rather play in 1080p than I'd rather lose functionality of the touchscreen when playing this than play at that low resolution, which is why I do. But playing the system is like, it's kind of like a mixed bag of which game is going to be, it's actually going to look good. And of course, that's not Of course, it's not a big deal. Like this, I play this all the time. I wasn't gonna beat this anyway. I just suck at it. At least this version doesn't have screen tearing, unlike the PS5. I don't know why I can't get the PS5 version of this game to not have any screen tearing. At least it's here. I love this game. Favorite game. I just want to show you something. One sec. Okay, you don't get my friend code, but okay. Whatever. Yeah, look at that. 1,245 hours or more just in Imaginators. Can you tell what my favorite game is? Yeah, you didn't get my friend code though. But yeah,